The United States has announced a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. No American diplomats will visit Beijing during the Winter Games next year in protest at China's human rights record.
The Biden administration will not send any diplomatic or official representation to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games, given the PRC's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang and other human rights abuses. The athletes on Team USA have our full support. We will be behind them 100% as we cheer them on from home, but we will not be contributing to the fanfare of the Games. U.S. diplomatic or official representation would treat these Games as business as usual in the face of the PRC's egregious human rights abuses and atrocities in Xinjiang, and we simply can't do that.
There are also reports of Australia using COVID-19 as a reason to justify a diplomatic boycott. The International Olympic Committee has called the decision a political decision for each government that it says it fully respects. Last month's virtual summit between Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping did not avoid this boycott. The last time the US took such measures was in 1980, when Washington fully boycotted the Moscow Olympics to protest against the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. A diplomatic boycott has been welcomed by both Democratic and Republican lawmakers in the US. Human Rights Watch also says it approves.
We think it's a step in the right direction. After all, we and many other organizations have been saying that it's really impossible to have celebrate the Olympic Games at a time when the country is committing so many human rights abuses, particularly in Xinjiang.
Well, our correspondent Richard Kimber is joining us now live from Hong Kong. And Richard, what is Beijing saying and what might it do in response to the US boycott?
Well, it's taken no hesitation in condemning this move from the US. It says that it's political grandstanding and political manipulation. It's making the point that it never sent out official invites anyway for a formal delegation from the United States, and therefore is saying this is purely an effort by the US to use the Olympics as an opportunity to try and damage China's international standing. It's further saying that this could undermine future bilateral relations between the two countries, especially after, as you mentioned just a few weeks ago, we had that high-level virtual summit between President Xi Jinping of China and President Biden, at which both presidents agreed there should be more communication and more cooperation over issues such as this, rather than necessarily the tit-for-tat exchanges of sanctions and political maneuvers, just like we're seeing now. So a great deal of criticism from China towards the US for the way it's carried out this move. They have specified that they will take countermeasures against this, but they've not explained what those countermeasures might be. So apart from the fact that the Summer Games are due to be held in Los Angeles in 2028, there's no obvious means by which Beijing can retaliate with an exact tit-for-tat move.
And what will China be feeling about other countries potentially following suit with the American decision, or is Beijing's main concern about the actions of Washington?
Well, Beijing has said in its foreign ministry briefing just a few hours ago that this will have no impact whatsoever on the Games themselves. They say that, in the words of the foreign ministry spokesman, quite dismissively, he said nobody cares if these politicians turn up or not. But clearly, if this turns into a more global decision to boycott diplomatically these Games, whether it's Australia in this region, whether it's the European Union, all coming together and making a joint decision, as US Secretary of State Antony Blinken suggested Washington was involved in these types of international talks before making their own move, then clearly there will be more pressure on Beijing, and they may find it more difficult to simply dismiss the actions of the international community as opposed to just dismissing the actions of the United States. The only country that has so far come forward of any global significance and said that they're also not sending high-level diplomats is New Zealand, although they were very clear in saying that their primary reason for doing so was because of COVID-19 concerns. They were not nearly as strong as the US with regards to pointing out their political frustrations with China. China. So it'll be interesting to see whether other countries, if they do make these similar diplomatic boycotts, also talk up COVID-19 as being a factor in the way that the US pointedly did not.
OK, Richard, thank you. That's Richard Kimber live for us in Hong Kong.